Welcome to Cheery. Today I'll introduce a quite good anime film. As the global war unfolds, the nation is divided into two factions. The battle between these two nations has spanned for hundreds of years with no resolution. However, fate took a different turn when in the midst of the ongoing conflict, the contrasting nature of love for the country, and love at first sight kept them apart. Will that love overcome the barriers? When the deep-rooted enmity between the opposing factions remains unaltered. A year ago, a young swordsman bravely rescued a girl from prison, only to face the Empire's retribution. He was imprisoned for treason, with the opposing factions constantly growing power. The Empire found itself in dire straits. Now, they call upon him to stand against the overwhelming might of a master ice mage. It's a task that seems far from easy. So, Isuka wants to reunite with his comrades, and restore what was lost during his time in captivity. His old team disbanded and returned to their hometown, where they raised fish and grew vegetables. Fortunately, Jin informed them of Isuka's release from prison. Andre uniting the team for a new mission. His comrades remain unchanged. Their love is as strong as ever. The playful team leader from before has matured, but the endearing quirks persist. Miz continues to lead this N07 team after a year of dissolution. They swiftly head to the front lines to fulfill their mission. This time, they must capture the powerful ice mage and bring back to the Empire. However, upon hearing this, Miz is filled with unease. When the mage possesses immense power, single-handedly breaking through the enemy's defenses in the past, it seems the high-ranking leaders have assigned this daunting task to the young swordsman. But Isuka didn't pay much attention, as his mission was to put an end to these meaningless wars. They moved into the bordering forest, and were ambushed by elite mages from the opposing faction. Feeling uneasy, they called for urgent reinforcements. However, things weren't that easy. When the mages launched their attack, Isuka effortlessly countered the assault with his weapon. Jin also tested the power of his gadgets, but it seemed ineffective against the mages. The Isuka group was surrounded. Realizing this was a tough situation, Nei used her fire powers to divert the attention of the opponents. Then, the two of them split up to launch their attacks. Although the mages tried to resist, they were no match for them. Isuka's sword skills were as sharp as ever after a year. They quickly defeated all the mage opponents. Then, a massive monster appeared, controlled by a young mage servant. She ordered the monster to attack them swiftly. Isuka swiftly dealt with these smaller creatures with a single swing of his sword. He then told his team to move to a safe location, while he dealt with this stubborn young mage. Despite her fierce attacks aiming for his life, she couldn't overcome the skilled swordsman. Isuka instructed the young mage to reveal the ice mage's location. However, she still showed reluctance to cooperate, so he had to use force to resolve the situation. With a few swift sword moves, he quickly apprehended her. Despite her arrogance, she still refused to cooperate. Using her cunning skills to deceive and blindside opponents, she charged into close combat with the swordsman. In just a moment, he continued to control her. At that moment, a surge of ice power approached. The ice mage appears, freezing everything around with her ice-freezing skill, intimidating the opponents. The playground was now hers, and without hesitation she introduced herself to her opponents. While the boasting was a bit over the top, with the strength of the swordsman, it was hard to tell who was superior. Isuka quickly attacked, but Alice's skills blocked his movements, and she unleashed attacks that made him struggle. However, Isuka wasn't easily deterred, and used his sword skills to block her attacks. He advanced towards her and launched an attack, but Alice swiftly defended with her magical shield. She was surprised to realize that Isuka's goal was similar to hers, leaving her momentarily distracted in the fight. However, Isuka still wasn't old enough to approach his opponent, so they had a conversation about their ideals. Unfortunately, Alice slipped and fell into Isuka, and their fateful encounter happened. The two opponents from the opposing kingdoms ended up embracing each other. Despite Isuka feeling awkward about it, he couldn't help but embrace her in that moment. This left Alice extremely embarrassed, and she quickly summoned her pet to escort her away. However, she didn't forget to threaten Isuka before leaving him with indescribable emotions. That night, Alice immersed herself in the palace, struggling with intense and romantic feelings, unable to express them, due to the strong impressions the duel with the swordsman left on her. This made her uncomfortable, so she decided to go watch a movie in the neutral city to alleviate her sorrow. Meanwhile, Isuka was deeply infatuated with Alice and couldn't sleep. Constantly thinking about her, he decided to take a walk and encountered Miz. Although the captain has no real strength, she cares about her teammates very much. Miz noticed Isuka's troubled state and invited him into her room to talk. Her room was charming with a collection of dried ink on sticks, which delights Isuka. Let's skip that detail and focus on the main issue. Miz wanted Isuka to relieve his stress by watching a romance movie featuring a female mage. However, Isuka was already preoccupied with thoughts of Alice. Seeing that, He agreed to go see a movie to see if it suited his interests or not. When he went in, it didn't seem very appealing to Iska. In front of him was a girl. Moved to tears by the movie, Iska gave her a handkerchief to use temporarily. At the end of the play, the girl turned back to thank Iska. At that moment the light turned on. The mage and the swordsman from yesterday coincidentally ran into each other again. Alice thought Iska was following her, so she was ready to confront him, but luckily, her servant Rin stopped her. When they were in the neutral city, where they couldn't use violence, however, Iska couldn't resist teasing her. He mentioned seeing a little girl crying while watching the play, making Alice embarrassed as her opponent had witnessed her emotional moments. Even though she felt a bit embarrassed, she still greeted Iska like a noble and left. However, she did not forget to be vigilant because she realized that her defense was too lax, so they decided to go to a nearby restaurant to eat. But luck wasn't on their side, as the restaurant was full. The waitress had arranged for them to sit with another guest, but Alice did not expect that that guest was Iska. They were surprised to see him everywhere. But hunger made Alice reluctantly agree to sit with her opponent. Their interactions were strangely engaging, with their actions syncing well. Servant Rin begins to feel abandoned and lonely, watching them playfully interact while she couldn't enjoy her meal as they did. They even had similar tastes, ordering the same dishes. They enjoyed their meal together, and had a lively conversation about their food preferences. Iska found this fascinating, making Rin feel uncomfortable. She felt disappointed when she couldn't enjoy her meal properly. When Alice returned to the palace, she couldn't forget her encounter with Iska. Rin reminded her that he was their opponent, but Alice was still frustrated during dinner. Rin's interruption of their joyful conversation left her without the chance to meet Iska again. The next morning, Iska team had a physical training session. While their teammates moved forward together, Captain Miz fell behind, so Rissia playfully pushed her, almost causing her to stumble, and shared some information about their upcoming mission, when they will be led by her in the upcoming mission. To create a positive atmosphere, Rissia gave tickets for an art exhibition to the team. Meanwhile, Alice felt very uncomfortable, because she couldn't sleep for the past few days. She wanted to go somewhere to relax a bit, and decided to visit the neutral city again. Unexpectedly, she ran into Iska once more. They both had tickets for an art exhibition, so Iska invited her to join him. Alice remained stubborn and decided to explore on her own. She got lost inside the city, and took a while to find her way back to the fountain, where she encountered Iska again. He suggested showing her a few more places around, although it feels a bit awkward when two opposition members are together. But art has no boundaries, so she accepted, and together they enjoyed art. After their outing, Alice bought Iska a bottle of beer to express her gratitude. But after finishing the beer and chatting for a while, he eventually fell asleep and leaned onto Alice. This is a classic move. Everyone, pretending to be drunk, lying on someone's shoulder and secretly admiring it without anyone noticing. As for the rest of the story, I'll leave it to your imagination. The following day, Iska missed Alice deeply, and he couldn't focus on the training session. So, he asked his team captain for a few days off to go meet Crush. Inside the palace, Rin found information about Iska, the youngest and most talented swordsman in the empire, who had been granted the title of a master, but he violated a strict policy when daring to release a mage being held captive by the empire. And that made Alice extremely curious about the person Iska released, and their relationship with him. So, she arranged a trip to the neutral city to meet him, and understand the situation better. Iska was brought to the neutral city, not knowing if he would meet Alice, but he still wanted to go there, to see if he could find answers to some questions. When he arrived, he indeed encountered Alice, and they had an unexpected connection. They had a private conversation outside the city, where Alice wanted to know about Iska's actions a year ago, who the mage he released was, and why Iska were now trying to attack them. This created a conflict within Alice, as she wanted to understand Iska's perspective. Iska didn't hesitate to express his viewpoint, stating that his goal was still peaceful negotiations to end the war. He revealed that he had followed the orders of the Empire to capture Alice, aimed at forcing the nebulized sovereign to agree to peace negotiations. However, Alice believed it was futile, as her people harbored deep hatred towards the Empire. Peace seemed impossible due to this enmity. Interestingly, Alice noticed Iska fighting for justice, leading her to suggest that he should become a knight under her command, ensuring he would be granted rights and status, making the servant Rin surprised, because this was a plan beyond their expectations the night before. At that moment, the ground trembled, and the sky revealed large cracks, as the progenitor of Nebulus's sovereignty appeared. Because she heard the call of the celestial sword, an object she needed to destroy immediately, she initiated an attack against them, using her divine power that shook everything around, and blew everything away. Iska was surprised that the progenitor were able to attack Alice, given that they were both of pure bloodline. Alice rushed to the progenitor and implored to stop, But what she received was an intense attack, as the progenitor suspected Alice of siding with the Empire. Fortunately, Rin summoned her pet to block the attack, as the immense power caused Rin to be severely injured. So Iska called for Miz to take her to the hospital for treatment of her injuries. Meanwhile, he was determined to fight and defeat the progenitor. Alice also joined the battle to avenge Rin, and together they coordinated their attacks against the progenitor, showing a clear distinction between humans and gods. When they decided to engage in battle without reservation, Iska and Alice worked together to fend off the gods' attack. Even though there is a difference in strength compared to their opponent, when the progenitor are angry, she will wipe out everything that dares to stand in her way. In the face of life and death, Iska established unity with Alice, so she unleashed her ice skill to attack the enemy, giving Iska the opportunity to approach. However, the progenitor's strike sent the girl flying far away, and next in line was the Empire's swordsman. But Alice didn't give up as she supported Iska in approaching their opponent, creating a path and blocking those attacks. This gave Iska an opportunity to get close to the opponent, severing the progenitor's wings, forcing Nebulus's progenitor to return to a dormant state for several hundred years. After the battle in the neutral city, Miz's team was granted a few days off to relieve stress, so they decided to visit a casino for some relaxation. Miz was determined to win a substantial amount of money, to buy a new vehicle to protect her teammates, leaving a deep impression on everyone with her noble spirit. On the other hand, Rin took Princess Alice to unwind at the casino, which was frequented by the elite. However, Alice was more interested in meeting Iska than in gambling. She was preoccupied with thoughts of her next encounter with Iska, and took out her notebook to organize the schedule for her rematch with him. But Rin could see through the little girl's heart, when she treated the rematch appointment as if it were a wedding date. So Rin helped Alice by activating the game machine, not expecting them to hit the jackpot, an extremely rare occurrence. Meanwhile, Miz's group kept losing as she was trying her best to achieve her passion. And Alice went for a walk around the city, discovering a fortune-telling spot. She decided to give it a try to see her fate, and to her surprise, the fortune-teller mentioned a strong connection between her and Iska. When two people are always close to each other, this brought comfort to Alice's heart. As she left, Iska's group also passed by, and he also decided to check his fortune. Unexpectedly, both of their readings were identical, indicating a predestined bond between them. After a fun night out, they receive a notification from Risya about their upcoming mission, which is to stop the energy vortex, preventing Nebulus's rulers from producing more powerful mages. However, Alice always thought of Iska. Rin then informed her of an important matter, as the Zhou clan was trying to gain control of the tornado's energy, and intentionally delayed reporting it to the queen. This troubled Alice deeply, as the clans vied for resources with each other. She decided to investigate and uncover the truth. But when they arrived at this clan's place, they were received in a terrifyingly silent manner. The masked man made them experience a bit of tension, and Alice quickly began investigating the vortex incident. However, it seemed he wasn't very willing to cooperate, leaving her to quietly continue her investigation. Meanwhile, Miz's group reached a camp near the vortex area, moving their vehicle towards the stone mine, and scanning for celestial energy in the vicinity. But it seemed they didn't discover anything, so the whole team returned to the camp for a relaxing bath. Miz does not hesitate to show off her figure in front of everyone. Although her height was limited, she was still considered a perfect girl, making the entire group drool at the sight of her. Back with Alice, she reached the vortex site for her investigation, only to uncover the truth. The masked individual had intentions to seize control of the energy, but he attempted to justify his actions, and suggesting Alice should leave everything to the Zhou clan for resolution. While the Iska group was actively searching for the position of the celestial energy, their chubby team leader had inadvertently pointed out the source of the energy, much to the delight of the group. However, but not long after, a Shano sub-squad came running. Miz innocently and without knowing, rushed towards them and revealed the location of the celestial energy. So, Shano turned the tables and revealed their true identity. When their group were disguised mages infiltrating the Empire, and little Miz had fallen into their trap due to her trust, Shano had to use an electric shock skill to wake her up a bit. At that moment, a high-ranking commander arrived, and subdued the remaining subordinates, and warned young Shano about her actions. However, it seemed like she didn't grasp the severity of the situation, and so the high-ranking commander didn't go easy on her. But Iska quickly thwarted that. When the commander aimed to throw that knife piercing through the two of them, Iska, wanting to protect Miz's life, swiftly confronted the commander. However, the mission regarding the celestial energy was still deemed more important, so the commander overlooked their actions for the time being. Below the energy vortex, Alice and the masked figure were still in control of this energy source. At that moment, undercover agent Shano captured Miz and handed her over to them. Alice was extremely surprised that Ms. had been captured, and was afraid of exposing her identity if Ms. realized they had met, so servant Rin quickly intervened to prevent the dangerous situation from happening, in order to rescue Alice in a difficult situation, and this made her realize that Iska was also present, so Alice quickly headed towards the Empire's base to meet him. Meanwhile, the Iska team was preparing to rescue Ms. Swiftly executing their plan to infiltrate the enemy's camp, Iska discovered that Shano was mistreating their team's petite captain, so he promptly rescued Ms. and warned Shano not to harm their dear team member. Just then, little Kissing appeared to destroy the missile. Leaving Iska astonished by the potency of her magic, he quickly instructed Ms. to find a hiding spot. Preparing for an intense battle, Kissing unleashed her skills, manipulating and transforming them at will, challenging Iska to defend against her relentless attacks. Iska struggled to evade these assaults, but it proved ineffective against him. Kissing recovered the missile and directed it towards Iska as a parting gift. Just when it seemed like the battle was over, Iska, though battered, was still alive. Kissing released her full power, summoning a thorned dragon that wreaked havoc around them. However, this didn't mean Iska was without a chance to claim victory. He swiftly incapacitated Kissing right on the spot. At the Imperial base, Alice wearily searched for Iska but found no sign of him. Her servant quickly ran to intercept a dangerous attack from the opponent. Unfortunately for this assailant, Alice was feeling a boiling anger within her, and had to unleash her fury upon him. However, her basic attacks proved to be evenly matched with his, and what's worse, she suffered a fierce counterattack. This made the high-ranking commander extremely pleased, so Alice had to unleash her true power, covering everything with a layer of freezing ice. At that moment, the high-ranking commander fled in a hurry. Alice sensed a large explosion at the source of the energy, prompting them to quickly move towards it. They discovered the masked individual had struck Iska, and rescuing his little companion Kissing. However, this person was cruel when he dared to kick little Ms. into the energy vortex, causing Iska to panic and quickly rush down to rescue her. Alice also descended rapidly to save them, and the two tried to hold onto each other amidst the tumultuous vortex. A moment of love overcoming difficulties unfolded before them. Despite being perceived as foes in front of others, in that fleeting moment, their true love was clear. However, fate had its plans, as their encounter was brief. When their meeting had only just begun, they soon started to part ways. Back at the palace, Alice couldn't forget the moment their hands touched, making her servant realize that their princess secretly harbored feelings for that night. So, she proposed the idea of allowing Alice to meet Iska again, bringing endless joy to her. They quickly moved to the neutral city they had been in the past few days. Alice held strong belief that she could meet Iska soon. On the other hand, Rin also wanted to meet him, but her intentions were opposite. She planned to sever their bond. As Alice was entering the phase of inheriting the throne, amidst competition from various noble lineages, Rin didn't want Alice to be distracted by an imperial knight. Meanwhile, Iska's group scolds Ms., saying her actions made her teammates worried. Ms. was extremely remorseful and repeatedly apologized to her young teammates. However, after completing that vortex mission, Ms. experienced severe itching on her left arm. She suspected it might be due to an insect bite, so she asked Nay for some anti-itch medicine. But when Ms. took off her clothes, they discovered the celestial energy mark, indicating the nebula's sovereignty, surprising everyone. When Ms. fell into the celestial energy vortex, the elemental spirits had fused with her. This was an extremely rare occurrence, akin to hitting the jackpot. However, this joy was only on Nebulus's side. If discovered in the Empire, Ms. might be subjected to experiments or even worse. So, everyone comforted Ms. and kept this secret, still considering her as their captain, which moved Ms. deeply, knowing she had such caring teammates. However, this was just a temporary plan. Jin still felt incredibly anxious, because the Empire's agents would discover the truth soon, and she would face immediate execution for espionage. Iska was also deeply troubled by this situation. But when he looked at the business card, he suddenly remembered Alice. So, Iska took Ms. to the neutral city to ease their minds. However, his main goal was to find Alice to ask her some questions, hoping he could somehow break the seal. The fateful connection between the two was at play, as Alice remained steadfast in her desire to meet Iska. And eventually, she saw Iska sitting on a stone bench with a sad expression. She used some excuse to strike up a conversation with him. Despite the numerous times they had met before, the awkwardness remained. Alice wanted to maintain her composure by providing a reason for Iska to yield. However, love guided them to a shared bond. She noticed Iska looked troubled, and she was curious to know what had happened to him. She promised not to tell anyone, except for her servant, so she could say that she was a trustworthy person when it came to keeping others' secrets. But when Iska looked into those adorable eyes, he couldn't deny a girl like her, and at that moment, the servant Rin caught this couple red-handed. When Alice tries to secretly find Iska for a date, and everything goes exactly as the maid planned, Rin offered them water to cool off, and despite being adversaries, Iska had no suspicions and took a sip. He soon fell unconscious as the water contained a sedative. Rin apologized to Alice for this abrupt action, but she didn't want her princess to be distracted by an imperial knight. So, Rin intended to apprehend him and take him to Alcatraz prison. At this moment, Ms. noticed that they were capturing her comrade. Though she desperately wanted to intervene, her powers were limited, and there was little she could do. Meanwhile, Alice tried to stop Rin from proceeding with this plan, fearing that if the nebulized sovereign's disciples found out, they would execute him. On the other hand, Risya is in an emergency meeting with senior leaders about Iska's situation. He had been kidnapped by an ice mage and taken to Alcatraz, a notorious prison known for holding special criminals. Risya saw an opportunity to free an evil demon Salinger, who held a grudge against the Queen Mage. This alliance could benefit the Empire, so she devised a plan for Mrs. Group to rescue Iska. She imprinted energy marks on Mrs. Team to disguise them as mages, and infiltrate nebulized territory. This mark would make it easier for them to find him. Meanwhile, Alice was conflicted, unsure how to explain if Iska woke up. When she touched him, she found it intriguing, as it was the first time she felt comfortable touching a man. But the confusion arose from him being her adversary. Just then, a stray cat ran onto the road, causing Rin to slam the brakes. Iska used this opportunity to fall into Alice's arms, but Alice saw through his act. Once he caught the cards and prevented him from falling on her, Iska had no choice but to pretend to be innocent. He deliberately pretended to be stupid and blamed Alice, as she was using a dirty trick to drug him and bring him back to nebulized territory. They both tried to blame each other, as neither was ready to admit their actions. Despite Alice's attempts to explain, Iska remains unconvinced. Jin successfully crossed the border with her team, advancing deep into the territory. Unaware that they were merely pawns in Risya's plan to release the evil demon Salinger, Iska was taken to the prison, anticipating a harsh imprisonment. To his surprise, he was placed in a 5-star hotel room, with the surveillance of their servant Rin and Princess Alice. I still don't know what they will do to each other tonight. This is yet to be revealed. So, Alice instructed Rin to go to the adjacent room, and assigned her the task of guarding Iska, considering him an extremely dangerous criminal. However, Rin did not agree because she was afraid that Iska might have unexpected behavior, so she wanted to protect him to help Alice feel secure. Everything went according to Rin's plan, with only the two of them present. Carrying out their plan became much easier. She staged the crime scene to make it look like she was being attacked, and Princess Alice would perceive this as an unexpected situation. Thus their game begins. Rin unleashes relentless attacks, forcing him to accept his fate to serve Alice's unification dream. At that moment, Alice is thinking about what they will have for dinner tonight, and was excited at the thought of sharing a meal with Iska once again. She went to ask the two of them what they wanted to eat, and was shocked to see the intense situation in front of her. Rin was fiercely attacking Iska. Despite his attempts to dissuade him, she remained determined. Alice walked over and gently patted Rin's shoulder and gave her advice. This makes Rin cry because her plan failed and everything will turn around. Alice will now be the one to guard Iska tonight and Rin will be allowed to rest in the next room. Iska had a question for Alice. How was he supposed to use the restroom or bathe in this restrained state? Alice was surprised by the question, and it was a coincidence that she hadn't bathed either. She thought they could do it together right now. However, things didn't go as planned. When Rin arrived to prevent this, and Alice was allowed to enjoy a relaxing soak in the tub, Rin would guard Iska to prevent any inappropriate actions. But unexpectedly, Princess Alice walked out without paying any attention to her surroundings. As a result, they both see everything with nothing left to hide, and to their surprise, Iska notices Alice's mark. At first they were a little hesitant, but when he saw everything he needed to see, she had nothing to be shy about. So Alice asked Iska if he found her mark beautiful, and he didn't hesitate to answer. His taste was incredibly simple, and did not distinguish between beauty and ugliness. Compared to his captain Ms., they had similarities. Alice asked him who he thought was more beautiful between her and Ms., and Iska chose her. This deeply moved Alice, causing her to drop her towel. Disregarding Rin's reproach for his impolite behavior, Alice confirmed her feelings in her heart, and openly revealed her feelings to the Prince Charming she dreamt of. So tonight, Iska couldn't escape his responsibility, after seeing what he shouldn't have seen, and had to respond to her feelings. Meanwhile, Mrs. Group infiltrated the notorious prison to find Iska. Risya seized this opportunity to negotiate with the demon Salinger. She promises to release him, on the condition that Salinger helps the Empire defeat the current Queen of Nebulize. He accepted the offer, aspiring to become greater than a king. On the other side, Iska still couldn't sleep after experiencing a shocking encounter with the girl. Alice confided in him, promising to grant Iska a position in nebulized society. Just then, Rin entered to inform Alice of some news. The infamous Alcatraz prison had been infiltrated by Imperial forces. Alarm bells rang loudly, and soldiers quickly conducted rigorous patrols. Miz's group was being surrounded, so Jin devised a plan to avoid detection, when Miz would act as bait to lure the soldiers into their trap, so she summoned all her courage to face the soldiers, but before she could do anything, the soldiers chased after her, causing her to panic. Not only that, they relentlessly attacked her, forcing Miz into a defensive position with no way to escape. Fortunately, Jin and Nei sneaked out the back and defeated the soldiers, causing Miz's heart to feel like it was about to fall out. Thought she would die today. Meanwhile, at Alice's hotel, seeing the notorious prison explode, Rin received word that the demon Salinger had broken out of the prison, causing panic in the vicinity. Alice quickly arrived to stop him. Although she knew she wasn't his match, she turned to Iska and spoke her last words to him. She swiftly handed Iska her handkerchief, which she had held onto for so long. This was likely Alice's final gesture to him. In this situation, Iska felt extremely uncomfortable, not knowing what had happened to Alice. Suddenly, he received a call from Miz, as their team was trying to find him, and was caught inside the infamous Alcatraz prison. With the situation turning dangerous for his teammates, Iska remembered Alice's handkerchief left on the table. He quickly opened it and discovered a key. Realizing Alice's feelings for him, he swiftly moved there. Alice and Rin were on the move when they were attacked, and the chaos was severe. Alice had to handle this swiftly. Iska reunited with his teammates, and Miz returned the ultimate weapon to him. Iska moved quickly to assist Alice. Meanwhile, the maid Rin faces the demon Salinger. Despite being a bit fierce, she was no match for him. Salinger prepares to demonstrate his true power, but Rin's cat-like skills can't do much. Feels unsettled, Rin summoned her pet to attack, but Salinger easily shattered it into pieces, and unleashed a powerful attack, leaving Rin incapacitated. However, Rin was determined and didn't give up, expressing her defiance even in the face of defeat. So, Salinger felt that the game had gone far enough and decided to use a skill that made Rin immobile. However, Rin was quite stubborn, daring to wink at him, which forced Salinger to send her off to meet her creator. Luckily, Iska was there to block that attack, leaving Salinger surprised that a swordsman could block that attack. And actions speak louder than words, so Salinger had to unleash a skill like that. However, he still couldn't gain the upper hand against Iska, who wielded the two supreme swords left by his master. But no matter what, Salinger believed that he would defeat them all. He decided to shut this little Rin up first. Salinger launched an attack, but Iska managed to evade and counterattacked. Salinger gently blocked the attack with his mastered strength. Iska persisted and approached his opponent for a second attempt, so Salinger didn't allow Iska to achieve his intentions that easily, and unleashed skills to thwart his opponent. Despite Rin and Iska cooperating, Salinger showcased his true strength, combining the power of fire and ice, shooting it at Iska. Even though Iska destroyed the outer ice layer, the inner firepower was much stronger, engulfing Iska and causing a massive explosion. It seemed like everything was over. Rin couldn't stand seeing the demon wreak havoc like this. She resolved to ruthlessly confront him to protect the nebulized kingdom. Salinger found this maid annoying, thinking she was weak but stubborn, so he decided to finish her off in this battle. At that moment, Iska managed to escape the fiery vortex and charged to attack Salinger. When this bully was too confident in his own strength, underestimating Iska. Today, Iska would show him what a true swordsman was, and ensure he wouldn't disappoint Alice's trust. On the other hand, Salinger refused to submit to an unknown swordsman, and used his final skill to defeat him. Just then, Rin summoned her pet to create a shield for Iska, giving him a chance to approach their opponent. Salinger found Rin annoying and tried to eliminate her, but Alice unexpectedly used her skill to save Rin, catching Salinger off guard. Seizing the opportunity, Iska launched an attack on him, but when it comes to close combat, few young mages can match Iska. He quickly defeated Salinger in 2 strikes. The terrified Salinger pretended to mumble incantations and fell into the abyss. And after the chaos was suppressed, everything returned to peace. Alice couldn't forget the image of Iska saying goodbye, making her feel extremely happy. Upon returning to the palace, she praised her maid. Rin insisted that the credit belonged to Iska, even though they were opposing factions, but Rin couldn't deny his actions, and this increases Alice's feelings for Iska. However, their conversation was overheard by her younger sister. When this little girl has the power over the flow of time, she knows some things about them. Sisbel recalled the past when a brave knight had saved her, and she longed to meet him again. Sisbel often had strange dreams, and worried about the safety of the queen. But with her inherent power, she can't do much, so Sisbel often feels insecure about herself. so the queen assigned her a mission to monitor the neutral land of Isamira. Regarding their relationship with the Empire, meanwhile, Iska's group faced a significant concern with Ms. as the health examination for their team was approaching, and Ms. was anxious about her magical seal. She had lost sleep and appetite for days. Suddenly, a medical staff member walked in and met their group. They thought everything would be exposed, but to their surprise, she came in to inform them of an extended break for the team, so the examination of the energy imprints was postponed. Much to Mrs. delight, they seized this opportunity for a joyful trip together. The group quickly arrived at the seaside city, a renowned luxury resort. The girls confidently wore enticing swimsuits, and enjoyed a day of relaxation and fun. Jin escorted Ms. back to the hotel earlier, while Iska waited for Nay to buy some things. At that moment, he was accidentally bumped into by a girl, and they happened to meet again. She was the girl he had rescued from the Empire's prison in the past. Before they could exchange greetings, Nay returned and they had to go back to the hotel. Sisbel was overjoyed to meet her savior again, and was determined not to let him go. In the night, she used her skills to recreate the image, and traced him to his hotel room. Sisbel fearlessly entered the room but was caught by Iska, thinking someone intended to harm him. Meanwhile, the queen took advantage of Sisbel leaving the palace to check her room, as she had been unaware of what had happened to her daughter over the past few years, during which the girl had minimal interaction with others. Alice was surprised to find an old newspaper about Iska, causing her great concern. She wondered how her younger sister knew about Iska, and whether their sisterly bond remained strong, especially since her sister seemed fond of the swordsman. On the other side, Sisbel and Iska had a private conversation. Sisbel wanted to express her gratitude for him saving her years ago, so she gave Iska her bracelet and offered to restore his social status by inviting him to her nebulized kingdom. However, Iska declined and said things that hurt her, so Sisbel asked for permission to leave. Meanwhile, Alice asked the queen for permission to investigate her sister. They couldn't uncover all the reasons in this room, so the queen agreed to let Alice go on a journey to find Sisbel. Meanwhile, the high-ranking leaders of the Empire received information about Princess Sisbel heading to Isamira City, so they planned to capture her using advanced weaponry. Iska went on a day trip with his teammates, and upon returning to the hotel, he sensed Sisbel's presence. He went alone to find her, and they moved outside the city to have a conversation. Sisbel revealed her identity and asked for Iska's help. She sensed that certain factions were planning to assassinate the queen to seize power, followed by a full-scale attack on the Empire using their authority. So, Sisbel was very worried about this and could trust no one except Iska. She wanted to prevent the day of world destruction, and change the future of the world together with Iska. However, Iska couldn't do that alone. He couldn't oppose everyone by himself, so, he went in search of a solution where both parties could agree to negotiate. Unexpectedly, the masked man appeared to monitor their conversation, and recorded their dialogue. Now, they had a reason to arrest Princess Sisbel, for the crime of fraternizing with the Empire. Despite Iska's efforts to intervene, this time they had an ally, as a robot from the Empire arrived to apprehend the girl. A tense battle was about to unfold, with Jin's group present to support Iska. The Empire's creature quickly identified its targets, but it was primarily focused on capturing Sisbel. The masked man was also intrigued by the unexpected guests, but Jin wouldn't let him go so easily, since the last time this guy dared to kick their team leader into the vortex pit. Jin was determined to eliminate him. Iska hurried to prevent the creature from attacking Sisbel, but its extremely tough skin made Iska's attacks futile. However, he didn't give up. Witnessing the injustices unfolding before him, Nay quickly activated her cannons to immobilize it. Meanwhile, Jin and Ms tactically retreated, having taunted the masked mage, but Jin quickly countered the attacks. Even though close combat wasn't his advantage, he swiftly drew his backup weapon and fired at the opponent. They thought it would end here, but to their surprise, a recording device saved him. The masked individual quickly appeared, slapping Jin and bringing a gasoline can, and tonight, he would burn them alive. The soldier activated the fire, but Ms. Wind magic proved useful as she extinguished the flames. This attracted the attention of the masked man, as he intended to bring the chubby girl back for experiments. Unexpectedly, Jin used a powerful gun to shoot a bullet, breaking that mask, forcing him to temporarily retreat. Iska found himself facing the Empire's top-tier super robot, continuously evolving and regenerating energy to attack them. Iska quickly protected Sisbel. Whether or not Nay activated her cannons was futile. As the robot had evolved to another level, Iska bravely approached the monster, but to no avail as it unleashed a skill that threatened everyone. Fortunately, Sisbel recreated the ancient sandstorm, confusing the robot and giving Iska the chance to strike, rendering it temporarily immobile. They thought it was over, but it removed its robot form, and captured Sisbel as its host, transforming into a terrifying creature. Iska's attacks were now no match, as the creature had full armor and incredible attack speed, overwhelming him. Fortunately, Alice came to aid, and they continued their coordinated efforts to battle this formidable opponent. However, they was still incomparable to this creature, as it was far stronger than anticipated, unleashing an immensely powerful energy surge toward them. In that moment, Alice used her shield to block the attack, infuriating the creature, which retaliated with devastating blows, no matter how hard Iska and Alice tried to stop its onslaught. Both sides exerted all their energy for a decisive attack, but this mystical creature couldn't withstand the combined power of Iska and Alice. It was blown away, and Sisbel was returned safely. However, Alice still felt hesitant about her relationship with Iska, given their opposing sides always finding a way to collaborate in dire situations. In the meantime, Sisbel woke up and was curious if her sister had any connection with Iska. Alice continued to deny the relationship, so Sisbel, feeling reassured, and decided to accept Iska as her husband, believing her older sister didn't grasp the opportunity. The question remains whether their sisterly bond will endure, especially as the young swordsman finds himself the focus of attention from both princesses, and sparking a love triangle. The video ends here for today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Cheery in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Much love.